The video you are about to watch is something of a psychic scrapbook. It is quite literally the visual and auditory representation of my own perspective and experience when merging your auric field with that of my own. In this particular Oracle Wisdom session, it is guided by Spirit through the modality of tarot and oracle card pulls. And it is my sacred intention to share wisdom conveyed in the energies of the colors, the figures, and the messages expressed in the images presented. My name is Jenna Pinkstone, and I am the Southern Oracle. We can connect on southernoracleeye.com or on Patreon, where gifts such as this Oracle Wisdom card pull will be shared with you as gratitude on a monthly basis for helping to build a more extrasensory world. Let's begin, y'all. Here we have the comprehensive card pull that was revealed when I merged with your auric field. I invite you to pause the video at this time if you feel called to do so that you can fully absorb the rich and vibrant energy expressed in the colors, the figures present, and in the overall sequencing of what is expressed when these cards come together as they have for you today. What is it that you feel within whenever you gaze at them? Do any pressures manifest within any of your chakral energy centers? Pay close awareness to different parts of your body that might be speaking to you at this time. Are any thoughts present within your physical human brain? Does it conjure up any memories from childhood, long ago, or even recently, of events that are taking place in your human life right now? I encourage you to record these revelations that you uncover within yourself so that you can reflect upon them later, not only after I have completed this entire card pull to share what it is my own perspective has to offer you, but also so that you can reflect upon these later and that you can juxtapose them against experiences that you may have in the coming weeks. I also encourage you to share these experiences, inquiries, and recordings either in the comments section of this video or privately with me via direct message. It is through this type of observational, keen awareness upon which we can record, reflect, and discover more via these psychic perceptions that are revealed from the merging of our auric fields. This will ultimately strengthen all extrasensory perspectives within the greater collective that shares our experience, in which we all receive in divine timing. Let's begin. The first card in the pull today comes from the Gilded Tarot deck by Ciro Marchetti, and that is the Nine of Pentacles, which depicts a very luxurious, self-made woman in that of a garden, surrounded by flowers and fruitful vines and so much nature, but also in kind of a golden and gilded sense that speaks of material wealth which is what the suit of Pentacles oftentimes foretells of. It is that of the earthen elements, anything that is derived from the earth, any type of wealth and prosperity that can be received from the experience of being a human on this earth. It truly shows the enjoyment and the comfort that money can buy. It also marries that enjoyment with that of nature, and it merges the two worlds in an effortless way. Obviously, the positive influences indicate a healthy attitude towards material resources and kind of an entrepreneurial energy, in that this person has truly manifested the life that they are leading and that they are enjoying immensely. And it is very effortless, it is very seamless and seemingly easy to simply go through these motions that don't even really feel like motions at all. It's simply like taking a walk in the garden and enjoying all of the fruits that they themselves have fostered, have planted, and they are reaping the rewards of that. It speaks of taking a moment to literally smell the roses, to enjoy all that you have created, rewarding oneself with a treat in kind of a domestic sense. It speaks of a harmony that is prevailing within this garden that is an isolated environment from the tumultuous outside world, and it encourages you to enjoy that isolated place, to not think of the outside world while you are here. And you may be inclined to do something nice for yourself. And Spirit encourages this as well. These vines are a very prominent aspect in the reading. They cover nearly 3/4 of the card, and they surround this woman like a loving embrace, as do the animals and the butterflies. And this falcon on her arm speaks of a richness of intelligence and somewhat of a wisdom that accompanies this wealth as well. A final aspect that Spirit is sharing with the Nine of Pentacles today is one of a sanctuary or a safe haven of sorts that you may feel when taking a walk in a park or enjoying nature in some form or fashion, and almost a state of respite and relaxation, one of recovery from the stresses and the tensions that lie waiting on the outside of this garden. Spirit encourages you to embrace this state as much as these vines are embracing this woman who enjoys her garden. And how important it truly is to take that moment to smell the roses, because there's much that lies waiting on the outside, and there is likely much more in the way of challenge and possibly strife, anxiety, difficulty that awaits you just outside these walls. And how important it is to recharge our batteries in these moments that we find ourselves where all of the rest of the world fades away, and we are truly able to enjoy the fruits that we have toiled so hard for. Before we move on, I wanted to mention right quick that the first card pulled, the 9 of Pentacles, ended at precisely 11 minutes and 11 seconds, which speaks of an activation code that is going to open a gateway of sorts towards heightened opportunity to manifest your thoughts and into reality out of thin air. This concept of thin air is speaking very, very in a pronounced way that it is essentially the power and the vibration of the number 1 that is really aligned with new beginnings and starting afresh. And it is amplified multiple times, both in the timestamp and in the placement of the card, all back to oneness and beginning anew, which leads us into the next 2 cards from the Gilded Tarot by Ciro Marchetti, the 7 of Cups and the Ace of Swords. It really feels strongly that these 2 cards speak together as one. And drawing our attention first to the 7 of Cups, what manifests out of thin air are all of these different chalices, and each of them is bearing something different, holding it as a vessel and presenting itself openly and accessibly to you. And notice out of all of these different vessels, notice that each one of them bears something different. There will be many choices that present themselves to you, and they will seemingly appear out of thin air. It is difficult to choose because it feels of an urgent nature that decisions must be made. And it is very apparent that by these dark clouds that loom in the distance beyond all of these choices that have revealed themselves by the universe, that each one will have its differing effects. Each one of these choices will bear something very different for you. And that change will be swift, and it will be sudden, and everything will be moving very quickly. And that is supported by this Ace of Swords placement next to this 7 of Cups. Ace of Swords speaks of irrevocable change, swift movement on the basement of decision. I meant to say basis, but basement came through. Basement. Beginning. First floor. The Ace of Swords is going to get you exactly where you need to go. It speaks clearly to that of unstoppable force and cutting through all known obstacles and winning this victory that you have been looking for, that you have been fighting for a very long time. And it's almost as though I see kind of one of those old game shows where there's a curtain and there's multiple doors that are available for you to choose. And that is represented by the Seven of Cups, all of these different choices that have appeared out of thin air with this looming, unknown kind of storminess in the distance on the horizon that you cannot really see what lies beyond the making of any of these choices. And it is yours to make, and it is one choice you must make out of many that are presented to you. And this Ace of Swords speaks to that, this one choice that you will make, and it will change the trajectory of the rest of your life. And this sword is powerful. It will cut through those obstacles and it will get you to where you intend to go. But that is just it. You must set this intention in motion, and you must strike and move forward through that one door. And in so doing, this sword will help you be victorious of that which you have fought for a very long time. But it is a double edge, and it does cut both ways, and that which it cuts down in the way of obstacles in your path, it will cleave you as well in a very meaningful way. And so much deliberation must be given to these choices that lie before you. The next two cards in this Oracle Wisdom card pull today both come from the Gaia Oracle card deck, one of my favorites, by Tony Carmine Salerno. And what I love about this deck particularly is the relation of all human experience and all of these concepts that are complicated and make us feel as though we are disconnected in some way from the earth. It reconciles that. It helps to weave back into the fabric of Earth Mother Gaia everything that we experience and perceive as human beings. And the first card, actually, let me go ahead and put it this way. These next two cards, much like the last two cards that were so comprehensive of each other's elements and energies that complemented one another, these two cards do the same. There's a mirroring here. And the first we'll talk about here is attachment. But attachment and achievement, the words even themselves sound very similar. And it is interesting in the ways in which the plays between the Seven of Cups and the Ace of Swords, and how in which these truly set the stage for what is made possible for you. The vines of this attachment card that speak of letting go and restriction of oneself and even choices, and a fear of what could happen if we allow ourselves to become entangled in far too much. These vines in this overgrown forest that she finds herself suspended here in this space of restriction in this dark place that inspires fear. And just this attachment to a concept or an idea. Perhaps it hasn't even happened yet, but it contains, restricts, and imprisons you just the same. It mirrors that of the garden in the Nine of Pentacles, and how those very of the earth gifts and wealths, and really a multitude of differing types of wealth, all that come from the earth, all of which we can fashion our lives and our structures and our shelters and all that surrounds us from an abundant garden that we ourselves have kept so well. But it does speak to something of this world will give us many things, and dependent upon our perspective, those many things, many people choose to create something wonderful out of all of those resources made available to them, and others choose to be imprisoned by these many things that they acquire and accumulate along the way. And what I personally feel resonant to with this particular auric field is the notion and the truth that I feel that you have created this garden. And it's a garden that you yourself enjoy, and then others wish to visit. It's absolutely wonderful, and it's marvelous. But every garden, what I'm transported to look closely at is that of the secret garden. I've mentioned before I was a child raised on movies, and so I use them as referential points of, you could call them touchstones of reference. But this secret garden, it was once beautiful, full of sunlight, warmth, and laughter and joy that the family that lived there shared. But after a horrible tragedy, the loss of a family member, that garden became overgrown and overtaken by the vines, and no one visited there, and the vines grew over the entryway until someone was finally able to push through and cut through the foliage that was choking out this garden. This speaks deeply of what it is I am experiencing with this oracle wisdom now, is these very gifts that you yourself have nourished and helped to thrive. You have given much attention and energy to these gifts, and it has created a beautiful garden. But these same gifts, when held out of balance in the making of certain choices that will greatly affect your circumstances and experience, will shift this garden and all that grows there. And the attachment to all of this work that you've put into this garden, this attachment is that which will ensnare you, and it could hold you back from this powerful and swift change in motion that you are sure to experience in these many choices that will present to you. And every one of them will have a differing outcome with respect to this garden that you have so lovingly built. And the final card is that of achievement. And what is pictured here is that of a lotus. And in the way that the lotus grows out of the mud, it speaks of beauty emerging from the profane, from a void of nothing. There is no garden that the lotus grows in. The lotus grows from a mud pit, void of any toiling, any human hands at work. It comes from the vast and plentiful nourishment that has broken down over time and returned back to the primordial mix of the energies and the elements of the earth. And from that, a new type of bloom is born. A letting go of all that you've worked for may actually pave the way for everything that you have always hoped for. And so it reminds you in the subtext of this card to keep focused on your dream, to remain focused on everything that you want, on everything that you have actually built this garden for. I thank you for syncing up today with this oracle card pull so as to receive these messages from the creative spirit. If you feel inspired to merge your own individual auric field with that of my own, and to receive an offering such as this for yourself and the collective to interface with, I invite you to visit me, Jenna Pinkstone, the Southern Oracle, on Patreon and southernoracleeye.com, where we can continue this sacred soul-searching work for building a more extrasensory world. Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to the channel for future offerings to come. This is Jenna Pinkstone, the Southern Oracle, signing off in gratitude to you.